Greetings. I want to spend a little time discussing rubrics and multimedia learning and how rubrics as formative assessments can be enhanced with teacher support. My name is Ryan Evans. Let's dive right in. According to Mayer and Fiorella 2021, multimedia combines words and pictures to present information. Words can be spoken or printed, while pictures may include static graphics like illustrations, diagrams, photos, graphs, or maps, or dynamic visuals such as animations, videos, or virtual reality. For instance, a multimedia example could range from a textbook illustration of the human heart labeled with explanatory text to an animated 3D video of the heart rotating, showing blood flow, and accompanied by narrated explanations of its functions. Seekin and Taskin 2022 define multimedia learning as the use of multimedia for instructional purposes. Mayer and Fiorella 2021 describe it as the process through which learners construct mental representations by integrating words and pictures to build knowledge. Clark and Mayer 2023 point to current digital advancements as a way to deepen learning. These advancements create meaningful, real-world experiences that actively engage students in critical thinking. Instead of relying on traditional static methods, they encourage active engagement through simulations, peer collaboration, and hands-on problem solving, all enhanced by multimedia tools. Saidi et al. 2022 reinforced this by showing how diverse media, text, audio, graphics, and video make instruction multimodal and more accessible. Angelova et al. 2022 add that multimedia tools can foster essential skills like teamwork, creativity, time management, organization, and communication. However, Angelova 2022 cautioned that not all multimedia guarantees effective learning, which is echoed by Clark and Mayer 2023, who warn against the overuse or poor implementation of multimedia, as excessive animations, sounds, or graphics can distract learners, increase cognitive load, and hinder knowledge retention. To optimize learning, Skolmowski and Zhu 2022 recommend minimizing distractions and focusing on designs that support cognitive processing and transfer knowledge into long-term memory. Any discussion of learning begins with understanding how it occurs, with the primary objective of transferring knowledge and understanding into long-term memory. According to Sweller, 2019, cognitive load theory posits that information must move from working memory, which is highly limited, to long-term memory. As more information is processed in working memory, cognitive load increases, potentially hindering learning. The key is to manage cognitive load effectively, focusing on germane load where meaningful information is processed and integrated into learning. When processing multimedia content, an additional complexity arises. Farkish et al. 2023 and Notel et al. 2022 highlight Mayer's theory of dual channel processing, which asserts that textual information and graphics are processed in separate cognitive channels, one for visual input and one for auditory input. Utilizing both channels is more effective than relying on text alone. However, this dual channel approach underscores the need to manage cognitive load carefully. Well-designed instructional materials should reduce extraneous cognitive processes, manage essential ones, and foster generative processing. Cognitive load theory in multimedia thus enhances understanding by minimizing intrinsic and extraneous cognitive load while optimizing germane load. Farkash et al. 2023 support the cognitive theory of multimedia learning, emphasizing that Mayer's multimedia design principles are widely recognized and have been validated by research as effective strategies for managing cognitive load in instructional multimedia. Clark and Mayer 2023 identifies 6 key principles aimed at reducing extraneous cognitive load and fostering germane load. They are the coherence principle, the contiguity principle, the modality principle, redundancy principle, the signaling principle, and the segmentation principle. The coherence principle says to remove unnecessary details to avoid distractions. For example, replace a detailed photograph with a simplified line drawing. The contiguity principle says to position text close to the related graphic. For instance, move explanatory text from a chart legend directly into the chart. The modality principle says to use audio narration to explain graphics rather than on-screen text. The redundancy principle says to avoid duplicating explanations in both text and audio. If text is necessary, limit it to keywords or phrases while providing a full explanation through narration. The signaling principle says to use visual or audio clues to draw attention to relevant elements within a graphic, such as highlighting or spotlighting key information. And the segmentation principle says to break down animations or videos into shorter segments with pauses, allowing learners to process information at their own pace, which is ideal for self-directed learning. These principles collectively aim to optimize cognitive processing, enhance learning outcomes, and align multimedia content with how learners best acquire and retain information. Rubrics are a widely used assessment tool in K-12 classrooms, helping measure adherence to criteria and standards while supporting students' academic performance, learning, and self-regulation, as noted by English et al. 2022 and Panadero and Johnson 2020. With the shift to technology tools, Seekin and Taskin 2022 highlight how multimedia principles now apply to diverse environments like computer-based, web-based, virtual, and augmented platforms. Angelova 2022 emphasizes that this transition fosters students' technical, digital, and creative skills by engaging them with digital tools. However, as multimedia learning integrates text, graphics, animations, videos, audio, and web content, and Mark Rudd et al. 2019 argue that rubrics must account for the diverse and integrative nature of these mediums. Tan et al. 2020 highlight a key challenge for educators is the absence of foundational principles for assessing multimodal content, which is central to multimedia student projects. Similarly, Wilson et al. 2016 note that traditional assessments often emphasize print literacy and language-dominant approaches, focusing more on process than learning outcomes. To address this, educators must evaluate how multimedia creations enhance student learning and effectively measure the acquisition of knowledge and skills. Taylor et al. 2024 and Panadero and Johnson 2020 emphasize that students generally perceive rubrics favorably when used for assessment. Rubrics help clarify expectations, outline task criteria, and provide meaningful feedback while also promoting self-assessment. However, research by Kilgore et al. 2020 and Bacchus et al. 2020 highlight that poorly designed or implemented rubrics can have the opposite effect. Some students find them overly complex, impractical, or confusing, leading to avoidance and negative impacts on learning. This underscores the critical importance of effective rubric design and thoughtful implementation by educators. Taylor et al. 2024 emphasized that rubrics effectiveness relies on thoughtful design, clear language, teacher explanations, and integration into feedback processes. Bacchus et al. 2020 highlight that rubrics are more effective when paired with exemplars, as this combination helps students better understand expectations and support self-evaluation. To maximize their impact, rubrics should use concise, student-friendly language and be complemented by exemplars to develop both explicit and tacit knowledge. Additionally, Taylor et al. 2024 suggests that involving students in rubric creation enhances their understanding and fosters a sense of ownership, promoting self-assessment and progress tracking. Integrating multimedia projects into education fosters creativity and transformative learning, but their success hinges on replacing traditional assessment practices with holistic strategies like co-created rubrics and exemplars to enhance clarity, engagement, and critical thinking, especially in K-12 settings. Ross et al. 2020 and Orovic 2023 emphasize that traditional assessments have been shaped by a print-focused culture, often neglecting multimodal literacy. This literacy involves understanding semiotic systems and the integration of text and visuals, both crucial for fostering critical thinking and creativity. Clark and Mayer 2023 stressed that effective rubrics must align with the required components of multimedia projects, assessing students' ability to apply knowledge, think critically, and engage in creative processes. However, Abdurrahman et al. 2020 highlight a critical gap. Traditional rubrics often fail to evaluate students' semiotic work, underscoring the need for expanded criteria that go beyond conventional metrics. Effective multimedia rubrics assess how well media elements contribute to the intended meaning of the final product. For example, a student creating a video on globalization might use a visual juxtaposing a sushi restaurant with a McDonald's to represent cultural food diversity in the United States. This choice aligns with Clark and Mayer's guidance that meaningful images enhance comprehension, unlike purely decorative visuals which fail to support the text message. Rubrics should emphasize purposeful media selection to ensure alignment with learning objectives. Overvik 2023 observed that class projects have historically prioritized text-based formats, shaping what is valued as knowledge and skill. However, the modern digital landscape demands a broader range of text and communication methods, emphasizing the importance of multimodal approaches. Tan et al. 2020 notes that many educators still rely on print-based assessment criteria when evaluating digital media projects. This highlights the urgent need for alternative frameworks that better align with the unique processes of digital composition and multimodal literacy. Reyna 2021 introduced a framework for designing rubrics tailored to multimedia projects, highlighting three key domains: conceptual, functional, and audiovisual. These domains guide the evaluation of how well students integrate content knowledge with technical and creative skills. Effective rubrics for multimedia learning should ensure that students demonstrate both content mastery and the ability to communicate their understanding clearly and meaningfully through diverse media elements. For example, if a multimedia project focuses on explaining the water cycle, both the explanation and the accompanying imagery must be accurate and aligned. Consistency in content ensures that the visuals effectively reinforce the narrative, enhancing understanding and engagement. Rubrics should evaluate students' effective use of digital tools to produce a functional product. For example, in a Powtoon video creation project, criteria might include ensuring that animated graphics and other vital components function as intended. RAINA 2021 emphasizes that rubrics should incorporate design principles, including layout, organization, the use of contrasting colors. These principles are essential for creating visually compelling and coherent projects, ensuring that the final product effectively communicates its intended message. This holistic approach to rubric design addresses both the technical and creative aspects of multimedia projects, ensuring that assessment practices align with the unique demands of digital learning. Rubrics help align task design with curriculum objectives, supporting the development of students' integrated skills, according to He et al. 2022. Tan et al. 2020 assert that the primary goal of education is to enhance student learning by focusing on their meaning making processes and how these align with learning outcomes. Additionally, Chan and Ho 2019 highlight that rubrics clarify learning goals, providing students with a clear framework to understand expected work quality and guide them toward achieving those standards. A significant challenge for educators is recognizing that learning is demonstrated not only through textual content, but also through all elements of the project. This requires guiding students to critically analyze non textual components, such as graphics and sound, with the same rigor as textual content. Ross et al. 2020 emphasized that to ensure coherence between rubrics and learning objectives, teachers should stress that every project element contributes to its overall meaning and purpose, reinforcing the interconnectedness of the creative process. Formative assessment tools, such as rubrics, when designed to emphasize learning goals, help students manage feedback effectively. Darling, Hammond et al. 2020 argue that this process sustains achievement-oriented behaviors, promotes competence development, and fosters a deeper understanding of their work. Effectively assessing multimedia projects requires rubrics that go beyond traditional print-based criteria to address multimodal literacy, creativity, and technical proficiency. These rubrics should align with learning objectives, focusing on content accuracy as well as the effective use of digital tools and design principles. By incorporating conceptual, functional, and audiovisual elements, rubrics can guide students in creating cohesive and meaningful projects while fostering clarity, creativity, and a holistic understanding of the learning process. English et al. 2022 note that rubrics promote self-regulated learning, self-assessment, self-efficacy, and transparency by providing explicit criteria. However, not all students recognize their value. He et al. 2022 argue that goal orientation, self-efficacy, and learner experience are crucial for effective rubric use. Students need to perceive assignments as meaningful, and self efficacy plays a key role in influencing effort and self regulation, especially when students' confidence levels are low or high. Less experienced students, particularly in K 12, need additional support to navigate rubrics effectively. Teachers must adapt their methods to maximize the formative potential of rubrics. Gaffer et al. 2020 emphasized that rubrics should be seen as tools to support learning, not just grading mechanisms. Darling Hammond et al. 2020 further suggests that rubrics offer a roadmap for students to reflect on their current progress and provide insights that guide their growth. Darling Hammond et al. 2020 argue that teachers should move beyond simply indicating whether answers are correct or incorrect. Effective feedback must be explicitly linked to performance standards and include actionable strategies for improvement. Taylor et al. 2024 emphasized that rubrics hold limited value without opportunities for explanation, exploration, and discussion. They enhance teacher practices and improve student outcomes, such as achievement, engagement, and lifelong learning. English et al. 2022 and Safadi 2021 further note that rubrics provide meaningful feedback by helping students identify gaps between current and desired performance and offering clear guidance on how to close them. Darling Hammond et al. 2020 highlight that rubrics evaluate performance against well-defined criteria, enabling feedback to target specific aspects of students' works, guiding improvement, and providing immediate opportunities for application. Darling Hammond et al. 2020 emphasized that students must understand the critical elements and content of a conceptual framework to effectively demonstrate learning. This understanding helps them organize knowledge, apply it, and transfer it to new situations. Educators need to structure content to align with these frameworks, fostering deeper understanding. In line with English et al. 2022, formative assessments supported by rubrics allow students to apply their knowledge, make adjustments, and align their work with learning goals. These assessments integrate assessment and pedagogy using a criterion reference framework to define objectives and provide actionable feedback. English et al. 2022 further underscore the teacher's pivotal role in clarifying learning interventions, facilitating discussions to uncover evidence of understanding, offering effective feedback, and encouraging students to support each other and take ownership of their learning. These actions are essential for activating and sustaining student engagement, as highlighted by both English et al. 2022 and Darling Hammond et al. 2020. The effectiveness of rubrics hinges on students' ability to comprehend and apply them. However, a frequent critique is that rubrics can be unclear or overly complex, which presents challenges, especially for less experienced learners. English et al. 2022 highlights that K-12 students often depend on teacher-led guidance to effectively use rubrics. Taylor et al. 2024 and Ragapathy and Lee 2020 emphasize the value of teacher-led training on rubric application. Classroom discussions about rubrics before assignments not only clarify expectations, but also encourage reflection and critical thinking among students. Effective rubric design prioritizes clear, detailed descriptors and well organized explanations. Chan and Ho 2019 emphasized that vague criteria can lead to student confusion, whereas calculable marking ranges help students understand the connection between point values and grades. He et al. 2022 further highlights the importance of several key design elements: content, criteria, language, structure, descriptors, and scoring. Clear and precise language is particularly critical to ensuring students fully grasp the expectations set by the rubric. One effective strategy for improving rubric clarity is involving students in the rubric development process. According to Chan and Ho 2019 and Gaffer et al. 2020, student participation promotes negotiation, deepens understanding, enhances motivation, and contributes to more positive learning outcomes. Kilgore et al. 2020 supports this perspective, reporting that in a co creation experiment, students significantly improved comprehension of rubric usage while fostering a sense of ownership in their learning journey. The effectiveness of rubrics depends on students' ability to understand and apply them. Clarity and flexibility are key factors in achieving this. Teacher guidance, particularly in K-12 settings, supports reflection and critical thinking. Clear, detailed rubrics, especially when students are involved in their creation, enhance understanding, motivation, and outcomes. To strike a balance between structure and creativity, rubrics should include criteria that foster innovative thinking while avoiding overly rigid frameworks. This approach ensures rubrics serve as both guiding tools and catalysts for meaningful learning experiences. Panadero and Johnson 2020 argue that simply presenting rubrics to students is insufficient for effective learning. They recommend first engaging students in authentic work evaluation before introducing the rubric criteria. This approach underscores the need for additional support, such as mock critiques or guided discussions, to make rubrics more accessible and comprehensible. Ragapathy and Lee 2020 emphasized the value of using exemplars, authentic examples that represent varying levels of quality or competence. Similarly, Smaui et al. 2024 and Lipnevik et al. 2023 define exemplars as tangible models of high quality work that allow students to compare their efforts, understand expectations, and visualize the desired outcomes. By providing these concrete examples, educators can help students internalize performance standards and align their work with rubric criteria. By comparing their work to superior exemplars, students can identify areas for improvement, while comparisons with low quality examples highlight what to avoid, as Nicole and McCallan 2022 pose it. These visual representations complement rubrics, enhancing their clarity and utility. Combining rubric co-creation with exemplars further strengthens students' understanding. Studies consistently show that exemplars clarify how rubric criteria align with overall performance requirements. Students reported finding high quality exemplars more helpful than rubrics alone, as they offer a concrete reference model, according to Smaui et al. 2024 and Nicole 2021 and Lipnevik 2023, demonstrated that detailed rubrics and written exemplars significantly improved outcomes. Similarly, Backus et al. 2020 found that students preferred rubrics paired with exemplars at various grade levels, considering them a more effective learning tool than rubrics alone. Pairing rubrics with exemplars has been shown to enhance student performance. Advancements in technology have expanded instructional methods, allowing students to demonstrate and deepen their understanding in authentic ways. User-friendly multimedia tools have further emphasized the creative potential of student projects. However, these opportunities also present challenges. Traditional teaching methods often hinder the integration of new technologies, and assessment rubrics for multimedia content have struggled to keep up. Ross et al. 2020 note that teachers may unconsciously rely on assessment paradigms rooted in print-based culture. Even with traditional assessments, students often struggle to understand rubrics and require support for clarity. This underscores the importance of teacher guidance, particularly in K-12 settings. Involving students in the co-creation of rubrics can enhance transparency and engagement. While rubrics have shown to improve student outcomes, their impact is more pronounced with experienced learners, according to Lipnovic et al. 2023. Younger students require more scaffolding to fully benefit from rubrics. Pairing rubrics with exemplars is another effective strategy. Exemplars provide concrete models of quality work, helping students gain both tacit and explicit knowledge for evaluating their performance, according to Smith et al. 2020. This pairing bridges gaps in understanding and improves learning outcomes. Although research on multimedia learning and rubrics is well documented in higher education, there is need for more studies in K-12 education. Multimedia projects and rubric-based assessments are invaluable in K-12 classrooms, but younger students need more structured support. A holistic approach to multimedia assessments addressing both content and process can maximize their potential. Rubrics, especially when paired with exemplars, should be prioritized as tools to enhance learning and foster critical thinking. Thank you for your time and your attention throughout this presentation.